more recruits like Gomer-Pyle, right? What was your request, Sergeant? You want to make Pyle your guiding bearer? You go right ahead. You don't have to ask me about that. Well, carry on, Sergeant. Is there anything else, Sergeant? Sergeant? Yes, sir? Oh, no, sir. Thank you, sir. It is not you, Michael. It can't hurt. Hold it down. Hold it down. What is the matter with you knuckleheads? Did you see we got a man sleeping here? As you were. Pipe down. This boy needs a sleep. He has got acute asthenia. Hey, Sergeant. Sir? What do you think you're doing out here? Boy? Well, sir, don't you know the punishment for leaving your quarters after you've been secured for the night? Yes, sir. But what are you trying to do? Get yourself court-martialed, boy? No, sir. Then what are you doing out here? Well, sir, the fact is I have been coming out here to practice running that obstacle course. I wanted to help you get that there honor platoon. And you won't believe this, sir, but I think I got this course lit. You have, huh? Yes, sir. Here, let me show you. No, that is all right. Well, I will be glad to do it. It won't take me but a minute. No, never mind. No, look, boy, it is good you can run the course, but you have got to do it during regular hours. You understand? Yes, sir. Now, tomorrow you can show me how good you can do it. Yes, sir. And I do it real good, too. I shove off just right and go right across and everything. Here, let me show you. No, tomorrow. Tomorrow. Now, you get back to your quarters now. Yes, sir. Where is your cap? You are standing on it, sir. Oh, what happened, Sergeant? Didn't you give yourself a good enough push? See, when you go all the way across like that, you've got to shove off real hard, and then you will swing right back, and your weight will take you all the way over. I did it. Chapter 1 begins with the roaring engine of a military truck carrying fresh recruits who have just set foot at the Marine Corps training camp. Sharp and strict shouting echoes from the supervising non-commissioned officers as the recruits quickly settle into their seats, their faces filled with excitement, anxiety, and a touch of curiosity about the strict discipline awaiting them. Among them, Private Gomer-Pyle, with his wide, round eyes and innocent appearance, quickly catches everyone's attention. Gomer begins babbling to the person sitting next to him about how Floyd the barber back in his hometown used to cut his hair. According to Gomer, the barber usually left the hair a bit long in the back, cut the sideburns even with the ear hole, trimmed the top, rubbed in some pomade, parted on the side, and made a small rabbit ridge in front. Although his current military haircut cannot possibly match what the hometown barber used to do, Gomer tells himself that it is just his first time, and things will soon fall into place. Following this scene is a commanding appearance of Sergeant Carter, the senior drill instructor directly responsible for guiding the platoon. Sergeant Carter steps forward with a straight posture and a voice as booming as thunder across the training ground. He asserts that he will watch over every single minute of their grueling boot camp training, from meal times to dressing times. A few recruits are surprised by his meticulous attention to such minor details, but their momentary distraction is instantly reined in by the strict atmosphere. Sergeant Carter reminds them that at the position of attention, they must not move or talk, and whenever they speak, the very first word out of their mouths must be "sir." Initially, the recruits reply in a timid murmur, which infuriates the sergeant because he cannot hear them properly. He demands that they shout loudly and clearly to demonstrate discipline and respect for their instructor. Amidst this tense and serious atmosphere, a sudden giggle escapes from the ranks, causing Sergeant Carter to immediately halt. He scans the crowd and demands loudly to know who dares to have a playful attitude during such a solemn moment. Private Gomer-Pyle timidly steps forward and explains that when everyone shouted loudly at the sergeant's command, the fellow behind him yelled right into Gomer's ear, which tickled him and made him grin. Gomer innocently imagines that the exact same thing happened to the person in front of him, Sergeant Carter angrily barks at Gomer to wipe that goofy smile off his face and asks for his full name. When Gomer loudly states his name is Gomer-Pyle, the sergeant warns him that he will be watching him very closely from then on. However, just a few seconds later, due to a natural reflex when recalling the tickling sensation in his ear, Gomer once again unconsciously wears an innocent smile on his face, driving Sergeant Carter completely out of his mind. Sergeant Carter turns to brief the entire platoon on his utmost important goal. He proudly announces that he has earned the Honor Platoon Award for 3 consecutive runs and is fiercely determined to secure a 4th one at all costs. He asks loudly who will help him achieve that feat, and the entire platoon responds in unison, shouting out their determination. Immediately afterward, the lesson on close order drill begins. The sergeant calls out marching commands, asks the recruits to dress right and align their formation properly, and sets a rhythmic cadence for the trainees to follow. In the middle of the steady cadence counting, Gomer-Pyle once again interrupts the solemn atmosphere by complimenting the sergeant's voice and cadence. Gomer innocently expresses that the sergeant's vocal tone and rhythm are genuinely good, even suggesting that the sergeant ought to sing in his church choir if he does not already do so. This innocent and ill-timed compliment infuriates Sergeant Carter. To punish Gomer's lack of focus and improper decorum, the sergeant orders him to perform 50 push-ups right on the spot. Gomer obediently follows the command, doing push-ups while still innocently praising the sergeant's voice to the absolute helplessness of his instructor. Right after the physical training session, the entire platoon is led out to the obstacle course area to run the famously rigorous drill. The recruits move at a high speed, simulating actual combat conditions on the battlefield. Sergeant Carter constantly urges and closely monitors every step taken by Gomer-Pyle, who consistently runs into trouble with the obstacles due to his innate clumsiness. Upon reaching the high wall challenge, Gomer-Pyle completely halts because the wall is much higher than he originally imagined. When the sergeant runs over and asks if Gomer is playing a game or having fun, the recruit honestly replies that the wall is way too high and he cannot reach the top. Sergeant Carter sarcastically asks if he should get a little stepladder for him, and Gomer innocently thanks him for the kind offer while stubbornly insisting on trying again on his own. Realizing that his goal of securing an honor platoon will vanish because of Gomer, the sergeant has no choice but to personally give him a boost and help him over the wall. Afterward, subsequent challenges unfold with a series of hilarious situations. Gomer crawls through a dark pipe that feels like the inside of a cow, skydives onto a target head first with his feet up in the air, prompting the sergeant to exclaim that even an 80-year-old grandmother could do better than him. Wrapping up the water obstacle session, Gomer emerges from the water with a bright smile, innocently asking if the water is cold, while all his fellow comrades are completely exhausted. That evening, in the recruits' quarters, Gomer sits by a small desk to write a letter home to his family. He diligently pens each word and looks up to ask his roommate how to spell the word friendly correctly. The roommate is surprised to hear Gomer share that in the letter, he is enthusiastically telling his family about how fun the training is and how friendly his drill instructor is. Everyone around cannot hide their astonishment at Gomer's unbelievable innocence, because in the eyes of all the recruits, Sergeant Carter is the embodiment of strictness and ear-splitting shouts. Gomer has his own unique reasoning, explaining that the sergeant has to act that way to hold everyone's attention, because if he spoke softly, their minds would wander, and they would probably just stand there staring at his nose. In the middle of their lively conversation, a fierce call for assembly echoes from outside, summoning Private Gomer-Pyle to report to Sergeant Carter in the duty hut immediately. Gomer hurries off, reminding his friends not to tell the sergeant that they were just discussing him. At the duty hut area, the atmosphere is tense as the recruits enter to report according to military protocol. A few recruits who made minor mistakes with their gloves or mispronounced their lines are scolded and chased out immediately. When it is Gomer-Pyle's turn to enter, having forgotten the proper procedure of knocking and asking for permission. Sergeant Carter orders him to turn around and do it all over again. After several awkward attempts at knocking and calling out the entry command, Gomer is finally allowed to step inside and stand at attention before the sergeant. The dialogue between the two quickly turns into an unintended and comical verbal spar driven entirely by Gomer's sheer innocence. Sergeant Carter asks Gomer if he is personally trying to sabotage his dream of getting another honor platoon, and Gomer innocently insists that he really likes the sergeant, even comparing that affection to his close friend Wally back home. Gomer's utter cluelessness leaves Sergeant Carter feeling both angry and helpless, completely unsure of how to handle this unique trainee. After being chased out for talking too much, Gomer actually returns just to innocently ask for confirmation once more whether the sergeant truly likes him, causing the sergeant to completely collapse under the weight of such overwhelming innocence. The next morning, the barracks buzz with activity as the comrades